Exercise 10. In this exercise, we try and explore a somewhat real-world scenario, as I like to refer to. And what that means is that we're going to go in and we're going to imagine that you're given by your manager a project that is halfway finished. Someone else, let's just imagine someone quit the job or whatever, and it's handed over to you and you have to complete it. And the manager, of course, gives you very vague direction as to how to complete it, but tells you with a little note as what you need to do. In this case, it's an MP3 player. And if you look, there's some parts already built. Most of it's actually built in this case, but you have to reconstruct and put some different things into it. So what you need to do here is look at the drawing, and there's really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you have to do. One of which is to actually create this LCD screen. You do not have to put all the little details in it. All it needs to be, you'll see in just a little bit, it's a very simple little part. So that's top down. We're going to create that from scratch inside the assembly. This one over here is create this boss that holds the earphone case. All it is there's no boss on the part that you're given. You will find that there's a hole on the earphone case, and you just have to match up with a boss to it. Nothing fancy is required. We're not going to make a snap fit or anything. It's just to get the idea on how to edit the part. Then you have to do some bottom-up assembly modeling. You're going to take this AA battery and lock it in or mate it to the socket that it has to fit into. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to shell out the rear. The rear bezel is all solid. It's one chunk of solid material. You have to shell it out, put a little lip on it, just like we did in exercise 9, and it's going to be a lip that's going to be 50 thousandths high. I'm sorry, 100 thousandths high and 50 thousandths thick, with 1 degree of draft. And then finally, you have to add these ribs in there. That's going to hold the battery in place. So that's a little part editing as well. This is very tricky. If you can do this, it's a good exercise to learn kind of what you're going to experience out in the real world. When you get into a company, they're going to ask you to do these things on a routine basis. So it's good to familiarize yourself with it. So this is the first case exposure, but make no mistake, this is a very difficult thing to do when you're first starting off with SolidWorks. So we'll begin by bringing up the assembly. Okay, so basically just go to File, Open, and you will find in your sample files, you'll find an Exercise 10 folder. Be careful, there's a sample file that's completed in there. It's called MP3 player. That is not what you want. You want to find a subfolder called E10. Double click on E10. Find the MP3 player in there. This is the incomplete one that you can fix. Go ahead and open it up. And hit OK if there's any messages that pop up. Now, first of all, like I said, the very first thing we want to do is we want to put the LCD screen in. You can see it's hollow right now. The LCD screen, the way it's designed, we'll imagine that right here is actually a PCB board. Matter of fact, let me hide some of these parts. I'm going to click on this and select Hide Component. And you can see the circuit board on the base. The battery is there. What I want you to do is actually, this is a good time to do this, click on the battery and just hide it, because I'm going to have you put a new battery in there for me. Okay. But anyhow, let's get back to this little thing. Okay, now to insert a new part, we go to Insert Components, the little arrow down below, New Part, and right away let's go ahead and select where we want to drop it. Now, to the right of your pointer, you'll see a little green check mark. That's an indication to let you know that you have to select where you want to drop it. Now remember, from exercise 9, you could drop it on any of the planes, you could drop it on flat surfaces. In this case, it's going to be attached to the green board, which is the printed circuit board down here, right on the top surface of it. So let's go ahead and just select from this little window here that green circuit board. If it shows up as gray on yours, that's fine too. That just means that you have your real view graphics turned on. Either one is fine. So if your colors look a little different, don't worry. The next thing we want to do is it started a sketch on the surface of that circuit board. Now we just have to find the diameter of this hole and make it slightly smaller and extrude our LCD screen up. So we're just going to select the edge of the hole. My suggestion is select either the bottom edge or the second edge. Don't select the one at the very top. That's a tangent edge, and that's going to be larger than the hole, so you want to be careful not to select that one. Now you could go to offset on these and make your offset 0.005, so 5/1000ths of an inch. Hit the reverse button a couple times until you see the smallest one displayed. So it's the inside, because remember, this has to fit inside that hole. So we don't want it bigger because then it's going to interfere. So basically the reverse switch should be turned on. Hit the green check mark to apply. And now you have an offset circle on the circuit board, which you just extrude. So we go to Features, Extrude Boss. Now here's a little tricky. If we extrude this up some sort of distance, it's not going to follow the contour of the actual the MP3 player, so that could be an issue. So to counteract that, there's an option instead of line. We want to follow the contour with an option called Up to Surface. So select Up to Surface, and then you have to select what surface you want to go up to. Now this only works with single surfaces. You can't put multiple surfaces in. So it's just this front face that just turned pink here. And now you can see, as soon as I select it, we can see in yellow the actual preview of the extruded LCD screen. And that's exactly what you want. Hit the green check mark to apply. And now the LCD screen is finished. But you probably want to save it at this point. So my suggestion is you go to File, Save As, because it's a temporary name right now. Hit OK. Hit OK again if you get this message. And we're going to call it LCD 2, because there's probably one already in there. So hit save. And now the next thing you can do is we basically have to keep our eye on the ball, as I said in exercise 9. That means the edit component tool up at the top left. This is the key to switching in and out of editing part and editing the assembly. Since we're done with this part, we no longer want to edit it, not even by accident, so let's turn it off edit component, which brings us into edit assembly. Now, the next stage in this process, according to the blueprint, is we have to place a boss following this hole in alignment with that. So here's how we can do that. We don't have to insert a new part. We actually just have to edit the bezel. That's this red part that shows up here. So what we can do is click on the bezel, click on it here or here. Don't click on the transparent part, and find the edit component or edit part function. Otherwise you could select edit component at the top left of your screen. Now we're editing this part. It's called the original T1 on the left here. We can tell that because it's blue. The next thing we want to do is we want to select where we want to start sketching. And now when we're selecting the sketch face, it's just this face down here, this flat face. So just select that right there and find your sketch tool. The next stage in the process is to select the circle tool. Glide up over around this vicinity here. Let's see if we could get to a wireframe and maybe see if that works. Nope, we'll have to go back to shaded. I'm going to go ahead and just draw my, actually I'm going to try and go normal 2. I'm going to hit my space bar and double click on normal 2, and we'll see if we could get that edge of this. And we're not. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to force it. We're going to just click and drag out a circle like that. Now we should probably measure what that other circle was. So what we could do here is we could go to the tools, and we're going to find the measure, which is this little tape measure here. Let's see if we could select that inner edge, and I'm not getting it. I'm going to hit escape a couple times. You know what? I'm actually going to exit out of the edit part mode so I could actually work on this. Or better yet, I could right click on the earphone case from the feature tree and we'll find open. That's this little folder here. Okay, and here's the earphone case. It's just a little plastic part. And there's the hole. Now we want to measure that hole, so let's do it from here. We'll go to Tools, Measure, just grab the edge. And this little box pops up. It says the diameter is 1.2, but I bet you there's more trailing zeros to that, so we could actually go and click on it. There's an Options button here under Units and Precision where it says INMM. And let's use Custom Settings, and decimal places will bump it up to 4 decimal places and hit OK. And we can see it's 0.1249. So we want to make ours just a little bit smaller, our circle, so it'll be 0.123. So let's go back to that. And to get back out of this, you just hold Control on your keyboard and hit the Tab key, and then you could go back to the thing that you're working on. So we'll go to Smart Dimension, dimension our circle at 0.123. Okay. Now we need to get it centered, located on there. And for some reason, I'm not picking up edges on this model very well. So we will try our best to get to that. I'm actually going to try and drag this, see if I can lock in. Nope, not doing it. Let me try wireframe one more time, or hidden lines. Okay, apparently we're not having too much luck here with this, so I'm going to go back to shaded with edges, and I'm actually going to delete this. I'm going to try something altogether different. I'm actually going to go in and see if I could grab those edges. I'm not having luck. This is something I'll have to try and figure out later on. If you want, go ahead and just draw the circle in as close as you can. You might be able to get it on your computer. I don't know if this is a bug inside SolidWorks or what, but generally we're supposed to be able to grab those edges, and I'm just not having luck with it today. So we will go back to this one. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and hit undo here until to bring it back and try and locate it. This isn't what you would typically want to do, but until I can figure out what's going on with this, unfortunately that's the only solution I have at this time. So we'll go to Features and we'll go to Extrude Boss, and extrude at only 0.125 high. Okay, but that's the idea. If you're able to actually grab the edges of your model, that's fine. That's actually what the intention is. I'm not sure why we're not seeing that here. In this latest version of 2008, must be having some problems. Okay, so now we're done editing that part. We have to get back to editing the assembly, or get out of this. So again, find the ball, edit component, turn it off. The next thing we want to do is we want to bring in the battery and lock it in. If you haven't deleted or hid that battery yet, do so right now by right-clicking on it, or click left on it and find the hide component. And now we go to Insert Components, we go to Browse, and make sure you're in your E10 directory, and find the AA battery. Hit Open, and drop it somewhere over here. Now this is all this is bottom-up assembly modeling. This is pretty easy. So we just go to the Mate tool, select the outside face of the diameter here, and then select this face right here, and that will be concentric. Part 2 is just select the end face of the battery to this face here, and that's all there is to it. Hit the apply or enter, and now you can move on. The next thing we want to work on is the rear bezel. So we can actually click on the rear bezel in the feature tree, which I hid earlier, and we could turn on show. And there's not much we could do with it just yet inside the assembly, so we might actually have to take it out for a moment. You could do that by right-clicking on it in the feature tree, or right here, right-click on it and find the Open Part option. From here, you can see it's solid. We're going to shell it out. So select this face, go to shell, and it has to be 100 thousandths thick, so 0.1, hit apply. If you get a message like this, that's okay, just hit OK there. All right. Now typically in a molded part you will not have this. This is an undercut. So we'll fix that. We just select the side face, start our sketch, quickly hit Convert Entities while that side face is selected, and go to Features and find Extrude Boss. And just select up to Next. Hit the green check mark, and you filled it in. The next thing we need to do is add that lip on the inside. So we could select this face, start our sketch. We'll use offset entities of 0.05. Hit reverse a couple times until you see it preview in the center of the selected face. Hit apply. Select the inside edge now. It's one continuous face in this case, so you could just now hit Convert Entities again. And go to Features, Extrude Boss, and don't worry about putting the draft on, just make it 0.1 high. Okay. The next thing we have to do is we need to get those little ribs in here. Now, it'd be very difficult. We'd have to measure and try and locate where those would be on this model here if we were to do it the bottom-up method. But top-down is much more powerful, enables us to steal the edges off of other geometry inside the assembly. So let's do that. Hold Control, hit the Tab key once, go back to the assembly. If you get a message, models within the assembly have changed, would you like to rebuild the assembly now? Yes. Apply. Okay. And now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to hide this part, the actual red cover. So we go to Hide Component. And now what we can see here's our little lip that we built on the bottom face. And there's our battery that we put in place. Now what we want to do is we want to see these little ribs that are there. We want to actually match those on the bottom. So to do that, we could select the bottom face and start a sketch, the bottom face of the actual bezel that we've shelled out. Start your sketch on it and go normal too. I just hit the space bar for a quick one here. And then you go and you want to probably work in wireframe. And here we could see the profiles. Now we could go ahead and just draw them in. Actually, I'm going to reverse this and see if I could grab them from the other edge. Okay, go ahead and lock into those. I have the wrong option selected. For rectangle, we want corner rectangle, and lock into those rectangles. Okay. The next step is, let's go back to shaded mode, and we'll extrude those. So you go to Assembly, and unfortunately we see that there's no option for us to actually extrude those, other than to extrude cut. The reason for this is, let's just hit the green check mark here, is let's take a look where our sketch is. Whenever we're editing a part, it should show up as blue, at least the text should show up as blue in the feature tree. Looking at my tree, I can see that nothing is blue. As a matter of fact, my sketch is even below this little rollback bar line. So that indicates that I actually created a sketch inside the assembly. What good are sketches inside an assembly? They're fine for layouts as well as what they call time-dependent features, which would be cuts that would take place after an assembly has been constructed. But in this case, it's not valid. So what we need to do is we need to just hit rebuild and find the sketch in the feature tree. Click on it with the left mouse button one time and hit delete on your keyboard, as we do not need it. What we should have done is we need to edit the part that's going to be worked on. And in that case, it was this part. What I neglected to do before sketching on that surface was I neglected to select the edit part or edit component tool up at the top left corner. So we'll select that first this time. Now we'll go ahead and go select the face we want to sketch on and click on sketch and go normal 2. We'll go back to the wireframe and select our corner rectangles. And draw them out. And again, I'm experiencing some trouble actually locking into the edges. I'm not sure why. What we can do here is we could actually zoom up, we could shade this, and we could lock them in manually. I believe this is a bug at this point, but we could hold control, select this, select the corner of the sketch, and select the corner of the model. And we could assign coincident relationships to those corners. I'm just going to go ahead and extrude them from at this point. I'm going to go to Features, Extrude Boss, and select the vertex to go up to, and hit Apply. So I actually selected this corner vertex right here to go up to, or this point, and extrude it up to that. Now you might notice that there's no hole in here. These are just solid going through the battery. So we need to put the hole in now. So the way to do that is go over on this side, select this face, start your sketch, and now go to the circle tool, and you might have to rotate this a little bit, glide up to the edge that you're sketching on until you can see the preview of the center of it, which shows up right over here. Lock into that, draw it out to that edge again, and now you can just do a feature extruded cut. Okay, apparently somehow I exited out of edit component again. Let's stop this for 1 second and let's go back and delete that. I don't know when I did that, but if I look at the video, I'm sure I'll find out. So we'll go click on this again, go to edit part, select this face, start our sketch. Actually, maybe that's what the problem is. Let me hit rebuild. I'm going to select this face and start our sketch. Select the circle, find that center off this edge, drag it out, and go to Features, Extrude Cut. If you don't see Features, then you did it wrong, just like I did. And go up to Vertex. Actually, you want the rear, which is back here. Hit Apply. And after that, you're pretty much finished. Just get out of the Edit Component tool by selecting the button. Bring back the original cover by right-clicking on it and find Show Component. If you want to double check your model on the rear, right-click on it and open it. And sure enough, you should be able to see that it's extruded up to that. In mine, I must have selected the wrong edge. As you can see, it didn't go all the way through. That's easy to fix. I could right-click on that, Edit Feature, and up to the point, we'll select this. Control Tab to bring us back. and save this as E9, E9, E10B, and you're finished.